see if I turn this around. So I was reading up on this next step here of dropping the radiator cradle with the relocation bars. I'm not sure if I need to use these because I am installing a CSF radiator, the short one, basically built for supercharging these cars. Because of that, I asked Doug at ECS if I will even need these. So I'm waiting to hear back from him. So I may skip this step and move on to our next step here, removing the lower radiator hose and thermostat. Yeah, so we're just removing the thermostat and reinstalling the 160 degree thermostat they supplied. So we're looking for 210s. So we are going in this way. Looks like we have a little cutout here for this notch. Wipe down the mating area here. Okay, torque spec is 11 foot-pounds. Next, we're going to be modifying the lower radiator hose. So I believe that is actually going to be the one that we just took off with the thermostat housing. So I'm going to get that pulled off, and it looks like we're going to be cutting and extending it. According to the instructions, we're supposed to use this like radiator extension hose and cut up your old radiator. You can see they got it in like 3 different pieces here. However, I could not find this extension piece, but they did give me a new radiator hose. So I'm thinking I'm supposed to use this instead. So if you see, it's pretty close in shape. The only difference is that if I match up these two, I have a kind of a different angle at the bottom. And then just to help get this on to that, this is a very, you know, dry rubber hose. Everything's better with lube. I'm gonna need to loosen up this one. So let's go back, and we are going to go back to lowering that radiator cradle. So we're going to remove those 4 13mm bolts holding the radiator support to the frame. Okay, so here's how long the bolt is. We're going to probably put it back in with just a couple of threads. And we'll call that good. Let's get the other side. And then there's another 13mm under this gusset here. So now we are doing the extension. Do not remove the frame from car. Install the 2 radiator cradle relocation bars with the 4 factory bolts. And now the new bolts are going to be used to pull this whole cradle forward into the new holes. Got out the ECU. What a pain. So in order to get out the ECU, I was reading online, people said, oh, you can go through the fender liner here. Well, with the dry sump oiling system, you definitely can't. So I undid all the bolts at the top here. I think they're like T15s. There's 2 more you have to get, on the inside here. These are just 7mm. You have to pull this cowle back and get 1 more out here. This is another T15 for right there. And then there's a deep bolt that mounts right here, if you can see it. And that is another 7mm, but you got to get it in through here. And it's a long road. You got to just use a lot of extensions. Now that I got it off, let's see if I can push this back up. Okay, yeah, and I was using a towel hopefully to protect my headlight. But what a pain. Even getting the plugs out is a pain. I got to get this dropped off at the tuner so that he can flash it. And then this will at least allow me to start it up once it's flashed. Next thing we're working on, after replacing that lower radiator hose with the longer one, you're going to set your radiator and AC condenser into the lower supports, tighten it all up. I'm not doing that because of the new one coming in. So you're going to take one intercooler supporting bracket, that is this, measure 1/2 inch in from the radiator cradle mounting tab. So we're going to have to lay under the car and take a look at where the radiator mounting tab is. You're going to measure 1/2 inch in from the edge of this to the radiator mounting tab, and then we will be drilling a hole and inserting a rib nut into it. Alright, so I messed that one up. I ended up fixing it, remarked it here, 1/2 inch away from driver's side, 13 inches from the far side to the closed side. Let's try to install it now. Alright, let's see if this actually makes sense now. Oh my god, it lines up perfectly. These people knew what they were talking about. Nice. Very nice. Oh, actually, I got it flipped backwards. Let me turn this around. Yep. Looks like our next steps is to relocate this outside air temperature sensor. I don't have the shroud on there right now, but I'll remember to do that when I put the radiator shroud on. So what we're going to do next is extend the horn wires. So they gave you a little extra wiring kit with extra wiring and some butt connectors, so we'll do that next. This one's kind of hard to see, but this one with the red, this is going to be your horn connector. I verified that by matching it up to the plug on there. So we're going to strip this wire harness back and then cut the wires. So that's called leaving a pigtail. And now we're going to want to strip this end. Perfect. Good crimp. There we go. Now we're completely waterproof. Let's do it to the other side. Okay, so I covered it up with some electrical tape up there where the big connectors are. Tried to put on this sheathing I had in my wiring kit, but it was too small to fit both connectors in it cleanly, so I just did two separate ones coming up to here, and then I just zip tied them shut and zip tied them together just so they're not exposed. So we'll leave that. So according to their instructions, they want you to mount the horns to the fiberglass shelf right there, and then use the supplied lock washer and nut on the back side of the horns. Okay, you can see I drilled the hole, got it mounted up and plugged in, and my wire's running down. There's a small hole right here that isn't fully drilled out. So we're going to use that supplied drill bit we did with the rib nuts. We're going to drill this out. Okay, rib nut going in. Easy money. Okay, next step, get our intercooler piping on. So that's going to be this one here. The hole we just drilled is going to go for this little bracket. The short side of your intercooler piping is going to be on the front, and then the longer side is going to be on the back there. So we're not tightening these down, I'm just getting them snug. Next step, we will be modifying the fan assembly. So we're looking to notch the upper right hand corner. So from the right side of the shroud, we're going to measure 4.5 inches towards the left and about a 1/2 inch down, using the photos as a guide. So it looks like we're gonna go 4.5 inches in here and a 1/2 inch down. Okay, so 4.5 inches, about there. Let's see, a 1/2 inch down. Honestly, to the top of here. In the instructions here it says we have a power steering cooler relocation kit that we're supposed to install on the engine cradle. I looked through my delivered parts and everything, and I looked through the shipping log, or the list of all the parts shipped, and I don't have anything like this. So I messaged Doug at ECS and we'll see what he says, but I think maybe this is old instructions and they no longer provide this, and maybe I'm just supposed to put the stock power steering rack cooler back on, but then again, I'm not sure. But I think we're just going to skip this for now and keep moving on, so maybe something we will come back to. This is more just installation notes. Looks like this step here is for modifying the radiator, which you will have to do if you're not getting a CSF radiator that's shorter, which I'm going to skip that one as well because this one's obviously not staying. So we're going to need to install the upper radiator support bracket with the stock 10mm bolts that we previously removed. So let's get those on. So stock bolts are here. So I got this little bungee cord here holding the intercooler away. Good thing we kept these brackets, clamps, whatever you want to call it, loose, because we gotta just like rotate it a little bit. Getting these in are so hard. Had to bend this line a little bit just to get around here. This hard line I took out of the clip just because now we're kind of sitting back at a little steeper angle. I was able to get this bracket on, and now let's see about finagling this bracket on. I'm not really sure if I'm supposed to be going under it or over it, but I think we're gonna need to think about this one. Yeah, I think this one may have to be bent. Oh, see? Look it. Looks like this will be hitting there, so maybe this has to go the other way. Maybe I gotta put it over on this side, but I hate bending these. I know how much pressure these are under. So the instructions say to worry about installing the passenger side later. So I'm just putting these back in, and we're gonna skip this part. All right, so it says your bracket assembly should come pre-assembled from ECS. If you're assembling this for the first time, be sure to use red Loctite when installing the fully threaded bolt on the adjustable swing arm bracket. So I think we're gonna be looking at it from this orientation. They are referring to this one right here with this one, I believe. Actually, look, it's already installed and tight. I'm gonna vote this was already red Loctited, so we're gonna just move on. Okay, so here's what we got. The two longer ones are going through there with their spacers. They're connecting to the head where we had those original bolts. The two stock bolts are going down here, mounting to the face of the water pump. They have little polished washers behind them. I don't know if you can see those. Yeah, you can kind of see down there. Kind of have to finagle it behind whatever this like little motor is for the throttle body, but that's how that first plate is going. They tell you to put this bracket on, but if you put this bracket on, you cannot tighten up this one. So I have to take it back off. Okay, I think this one's like a 14. So I'm gonna grab this hardware here. And now this is going on that swing arm pulley threaded rod there, whatever you want to call it. I don't want to tighten it up because I believe we're going to need to manually tighten this up or something. That's why we got the little cutout there. So we're doing some like troubleshooting here. I took the cap off the blower here and this felt kind of loose. I don't know how tight this is supposed to be, but it does look like it's been leaking. So okay, that feels much tighter. We're gonna rock with that. Looks like this is a little extension here for draining it, it seems like. So this is going to be like a drain plug extension that we're putting on. Okay, I don't know if you can see this or not, but they are showing 6 holes here. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 6 holes around the blower. They only show 1, 2, 3, 4 in there, which was confusing me because I saw the 6 holes, whatever. They're doing 4, I'm gonna do 4, so let's get those on. These are all hand tight right now. It's a 14 millimeter. So what we have is bolt, washer, spacer, keyway. Seems simple enough. I'm gonna vote. We're putting this over here, lining the keyway up, okay? And then it looks like retainer like this with the washer over the top of it like that. And I feel like it'd be a smart idea to put some Loctite on here, as I don't want this coming off. Yeah, feels pretty good. I don't know what the torque is supposed to be. Let me look that up. I got the clamp on here first. It's already kind of crushing it, and I have this absolutely maxed out. I mean, that feels tight. Let's try that. Okay, it's just sitting right there. So on the blower here, I forgot to put in this bolt. So this has to already be installed, or else it runs into here when you try to install it, or it runs into a bunch of shit back here. So it has to already be installed. I just loosened this 4 bolts, took these little studs out, and I was able to slide it on. Okay, so we're gonna wanna get our 3 spacers on here. And then we gotta, unfortunately, line up the 3 holes that these go into. So I'm gonna get this bottom one first, and then the top one, and then the right hand side one, and we're through. We got some kind of resistance. I think that's from the rubber hose, but that's all right. We're gonna put our washer and then our nylock on the back. Okay. Like I said, this one has to already be installed, or else you can't get it on. I just have to do this last one on the back side. So the blower comes with this sealed top plug, and we have to install the vented plug that comes with it. So you're gonna get your Allen key and break this free and get this one removed and that other one installed. Okay, so now that the vented plug is in, we now have to check oil level on this dipstick over here. Okay, so we're checking oil level. This is a 5/16 Allen head. Yeah, we're in the acceptable range. Okay, I'm working on getting the belt installed. Have it around the alternator, going to the power steering pump, up over the idler, down around the crank pulley, on our new heavy duty tensioner up to the idler, around the compressor. I'm leaving the water pump off as per their instruction, and now I'm using this breaker bar to remove pressure and hopefully get it underneath this water pump. Okay, just got done fighting with the pulley. That is a huge pain in the ass, super tight, but here's how I did it. I used one of these cam straps around my wrench, or sorry, around my ratchet, down to the tensioner release hole. Went counterclockwise with it until it's absolutely maxed out. The last pulley I had to put on was the water pumps, front and center. It is still too tight to get it on here, so I used a screwdriver, just a flathead, and put it under the center here, and was able to just pry it down until I could slide it over the screwdriver, push it onto the belt, and then slide the screwdriver out. Okay, what turned out to be one of my issues is this is an 8-rib ATI pulley. I had mine on the inner 6 on this side, and I had it on the middle 6 on this side. So I was one tooth off between the sides. I couldn't see it, which was taking up extra room and making this so difficult to get on the water pump. So once I fixed that, it went on a lot easier. So make sure you check your alignment on your pulley if you have more than the 6 ribs. Okay, so on the back side here we have this square cutout for a big ratchet to go on, and I cranked on this as hard as I could, which provides additional tension using that idler pulley down there. And then I used a 14 ratcheting wrench to tighten up this bolt and this other one back here, which holds the whole bracket in place. I've heard a lot of stories about belt slip, but you can see we are, you know, 3/4 wrapped on this blower pulley. So I think I'm going to call it here for this video. So this will be the end of episode 2. So we've gotten through a lot. We've got a lot of the charge piping, intercooler, supercharger mounted. We got radiator back in. However, this one won't be staying. Some brackets are on. Still got to get the other side bracket on. So there's still a lot left to do. We'll finish the rest of that in the 3rd episode, but this is going to be the end of episode 2. So like, comment, subscribe, and follow along for the next one.